Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Battle for Azeroth, and today we'll be talking again about Battle for Azeroth. I'm been enjoying covering this whole expansion that's coming up with a lot of pleasure. But today I want to talk a bit about a discussion that I've been seeing, and I've been seeing this also in my own chat whenever I'm live streaming here and there, whenever we're talking about the expansion. For the most part, everybody's excited, but there is a little bit of that, I guess, negativity, and it should be discussed, and negativity is not unwarranted. It's just people being cautious about the next expansion. The question is the Horde versus Alliance premise enough for an entire expansion? Now, before I go on, we have an unfinished story with Sylvanas and Anduin. What is Sylvanas gonna do after there is a whole Stormheim thing where she got cucked by Greymane? What about Anduin, and how is he gonna deal with the death of his dad? I feel like that enough, those two stories on two major characters in World of Warcraft, I feel like that's enough of an expansion. Like, there's so much you could do with it, and there's so much you can spin with it. And I'll be honest, I'm a bit biased. I am personally excited about the expansion, so I am going to give you my thoughts on exactly why I'm excited. Some of the things might be very, very minor in terms of why I'm excited, but I don't want to try to look at it as at the other side as well, in terms of like, okay, I see why the concerns are there. But let me first get you reasons why I'm excited. Besides Sylvanas and Anduin's story, I was sold on the cinematic. That cinematic for Battle for Azeroth was literally better. That few minutes of glory was better than the whole movie of Warcraft and just how it was done. Warcraft was okay as a video game movie, but it's a video game movie. This cinematic was amazing, and I felt like it covered World of Warcraft and just the Warcraft premise so well. It was gritty. I mean, for a cartoony playstyle and cartoony art style that we have for the game, just the amount of just so much much realism that they added to the cinematic was absolutely breathtaking. I love how they made the whole premise of war for World of Warcraft not a pretty sight. War isn't pretty, and they were able to, I felt like, completely encompass this idea in this one cinematic. Just the realism of it, I guess the horrors, the fallen brethren, the dirtiness of the whole thing, the something that the game makes it look as very cartoony and unrealistic made it look so realistic and just so much more, I guess, exciting. And I still love how they kept the whole gray theme of it going. But the best part about World of Warcraft is how gray they keep it. It's not black and white like, oh, the Horde are the bad guys, the Alliance are the good guys. There's a lot of different stories that are going on in the background. Like I always said, World of Warcraft the guys at World of Warcraft with the storyline, they were Game of Thronesing before everybody else. Game of Thrones, of course, runs a bunch of different stories at the same time, and you quickly figure out that it's not quite black and white, it's really just a lot of gray areas, and some people even develop favorites of both sides of the spectrum, I guess, of the story. I mean, Cersei is, while she might seem like a bitch of a character, watching her and how Jaime Lannister are developing within last season, well, I mean, you're just seeing like two split sides of the same coin, and you really do develop some feelings for characters. Even though they're supposed to be the bad guys, you get to see that they're not completely bad in their own way. They have their own reasons. So I love the fact that they were able to showcase this in just a small cinematic. Is Sylvanas going to be a good war chief, was my question when I first got introduced to the fact that Sylvanas is going to be the war chief. And I felt like they didn't really finish that off all that well in Legion so far. I mean, we're not done with Legion yet, but so far it's just, there hasn't been nothing with Sylvanas. And for the longest time I thought an orc, a troll, hell, even a tauren would make a better war chief. Vol'jin was a perfect choice, but then when they made Sylvanas, it was a controversial option. I mean, Sylvanas usually is all about Forsaken and the Undead, but not really for the rest of the Horde. They're like a side spectrum to the Horde. But when you see the cinematic, when she goes Banshee Queen and leads the charge with that for the Horde, and just you watch how the orc in that cinematic gets so inspired, picks up the Horde flag and starts running, and everybody just pours out as the massive Horde. I thought it was amazing. That's the way I thought, okay, that's my war chief. I want to see her do more. Same thing on the other side with Anduin. Is he going to be a good king? For the most part, he's been the butt of every joke since Mob. That kid has been made fun of by, I feel like, everybody. No one liked Anduin for the longest time, especially when he had the dumb old model that was like very, I don't know, puppet-like in just the mouth movements. And nobody liked Anduin for the longest, even after he got some updates. And when Legion happened and when Varian died, it was a time for Anduin to shine. And a lot of, I guess, eyes were upon him. Still nobody believed in the guy. After, I think, 725 cinematic, where he picks up his father's sword when you do as Alliance the questline for it, I mean, a lot of people were excited about the new leaf of Anduin, so I wanted to see how he's gonna do. And when he yelled out for the Alliance, I felt like that was literally the first time I heard for the Alliance, and it wasn't cringy. So I want to see more of what this guy has to do. I thought they set up these characters pretty well. It's not like a huge grandiose setup, but it's enough for me to be interested in the story. So that, on that premise alone, I don't care where they go and where they fight. They could literally go fight in the homeland of Murlocs and recruit Murloc armies and have Murlocs fight each other as Alliance and the Horde. I still want to see the storylines of both two characters. Also, the new zones are a great excuse to go to new places. You know, I feel like content-wise, just to see new places that have always been in the game, but we just never discovered or never been shown by the developers, is reason enough as well. And the premise is fine for the Horde and Alliance to find two of the sides to join them in a fight, especially in the naval battles, or possibility of maybe naval battles. They didn't really say much about it. And it sets up a bigger story, just like in Pandaria. A lot of people compare this expansion to Pandaria, saying it's an in-between expansion. It's like a cop-out. It's just like a vacation expansion. It's not really a real expansion. It's just a middle ground, just something to hold players off until the next big thing comes out. And Pandaria was a pretty nice in-between expansion if you look at it. But it was more about peace and tranquility and playing Pokemon battles and hanging out with Pandaren. It was pretty cool, and they had its own stories. I didn't really care that much about the Thunder King and the Mogu that much, but as they started to wrap it up towards Yasharaj and beating Siege of Orgrimmar and joined together to fight against Garrosh, I mean, I thought it was a pretty cool premise. It's just the whole turn for the Horde. It was interesting. And it set up for a bigger story, so it was fine to just hang out with Pandaren. I liked it, it was interesting. It might have not been the best expansion, but I personally enjoyed it. But this one would be even more exciting, it would be a lot more fun. It has the focus of faction battles and PvP, the combat between Alliance and the Horde, what the game has been all about since like Warcraft series, the original series. And the faction battles of Alliance and Horde and the struggle, the constant struggle, has always been exciting for a lot of players. That's part of the reason why we play World of Warcraft, is that big divide of the two factions. They're similar but also very different, and those differences is some of the reasons why they fight each other. And I feel like on that premise alone, for an in-between expansion, is a lot better premise than what Pandaria gave us. Plus, you're still giving us a lot of new zones and a lot of possibilities for stories later. For example, we're supposed to get an Azshara raid in the future anyway, and Azshara and Naga have to do some with N'Zoth and Old God. We're still fighting the Old Gods. Those Old Gods can still lead us back to the Void Lords and whatnot, so it'll all tie in eventually somehow, some way, and there's probably multiple other ways it can tie in that I'm not, covering yet. But this is some of the just off the top of the head, off the cuff coverings that I can do. Like, there's just so much you can do with this, and it's fine to have a expansion, I feel like, on faction battles alone. It's a premise that it's kind of loosely covered, maybe in a patch once in a while in an expansion, but it's not wildly covered, the whole struggle, and it would be kind of nice to ground ourselves back to that, and then establish that, and then you continue the stories with that established, the struggle of faction balances, the Alliance versus Horde, Anduin versus Sylvanas, the new leaders of the two sides of the same coin. I think it's great. And again, if it all fails, if the expansion isn't great, it's not fun, there's not enough content, there's always Warcraft Classic. So I feel like for a lot of people who are really just unsure about Battle for Azeroth, if they should even get it, if that'll be even fun on an expansion, I feel like there's no lose-lose situation on this one. Even if the expansion, let's say, is going to be terrible, and I doubt it because of the premise. For me, it just seems so exciting, just the whole original faction Horde versus Alliance fight. And it just, for me, it seems like it's enough. But even if it's not that great, even if it comes out a little short, and it's not meeting people's expectations, no matter how wild they are, we'll always have Warcraft Classic to fall back on. Because I'm pretty sure that'll be coming in maybe a year or two after the release of Battle for Azeroth. And I think it'd be exciting. I think it'd be awesome on its own, because people would be able to go back to the way the game was, and as long as they keep it as original as possible, as vanilla as possible, no the quality of life changes, please, so I can experience how people used to experience back in the day. I think it'll be fine, because we'll either have some people that enjoy the expansion, and the rest will go to Warcraft Classic. But if the expansion is great, we'll also have Warcraft Classic. I honestly feel like Blizzard set us up in a situation where you can't lose, unless Warcraft Classic is like $120 or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's all gonna be bundled in somehow, one way or another. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the expansion for Battle for Azeroth, and for, I guess, my explanation for some of the concerns that people are having with the expansion. I'm personally excited. and I really want to see where the story goes. I thought the cinematic was amazing, and I thought it would set up the expansion perfectly. I'm very, very excited, and I have literally none of that, I guess, second-hand or second thoughts and, you know, maybe double takes at it, like I kind of did with Legion. After Warlords General, I know a lot of people were very, unsatisfied with the expansion, and Legion was like, could it be good, but what if it isn't, kind of deal. And I had some double takes of like, oh, are we bringing Illidan back, or what are we bringing back again? Are we bringing Maiev back? What are we bringing the Legion back? Are we bringing Gul'dan back? And I was like, I'm not quite sure exactly how it's gonna go, but it turned out to be a pretty decent for an expansion. I actually been enjoying it a lot, and I'm very excited about Battle for Azeroth, about the premise. I just feel like, you know, maybe it's just my opinion, but you guys are free to comment your opinions down below. And if you want this channel to do well, if you can give this video a like, that would be great, because the more likes videos gets, apparently the more they get sent out and promoted to other, you know, people and the recommended stuff section and whatnot. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. I'm on my way to 50k subscribers, so that'll be exciting for my channel to finally achieve half 100,000, so I can, you know, halfway there to the YouTube plaque, I think, silver button or whatever, silver play button. And if you haven't hit the notification button next to subscribe, please do, so you can catch me whenever I'm putting videos out and whenever I'm streaming, which I do almost every day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.